It's gonna pass by here.
Versus over the air.
Really?
I know TikTok places are allowed to do it, but we'll post all this song in the summer.
Set at 35. We're about the only business that stays open till 7.
Just kind of in the middle,
like all the thrift stores and the.
Oh, right.
You know.
It will need to be decided. You know what I mean? I'm not sure I would have released it. Put it on the album, fair. Say something, Scotty. This is going to be a lot about, you're going to hear a lot about over the next couple of days why Comedy Central used to edit these down and why they did not do them well. It's because after somebody normally goes, oh, dude, my kids are, you know what, dude, like, all right, we're in the audience, they saw it. Maybe not have it replay on Comedy Central 9,000 times like that. Can we maybe get this taken back, right? And I think you're going to hear a lot about that. My guess is the next Netflix roast probably will not be long. First, it was almost 3 hours long. It's like, guys, this is getting a little excessive here, right? If you can't get it done in 2 hours, that's, I mean, there's probably an hour of filler in that. And so we'll take a look at what Tom Brady had to say. We'll get to that at 9 o'clock. By the way, he's also on the call. Browns season opener against the Cowboys. That will be his first time in the booth at a 425 game. We found that out yesterday. We'll circle back to that as well. 8 a.m. this morning, I have a piece of audio from another NFL player, Harrison Butker. You don't know who he is, and before yesterday, neither did I. But he gave a commencement.
Car payment.
This was at a Catholic school.
Cable bill.
He had some what other people are calling questionable things to say. Absolutely nobody in the audience where he gave this
I'm gonna give you the
had an issue with
$200.
it. Nobody's booing, nobody's walking out, no protesters are yelling at him. But it hit the internet. And now, of course, people who weren't there, who would never go to a Catholic school, are beside themselves over what he has said. I have the audio about what he said about men and what he said about
women. I took everything out of
the entire speech was 22 minutes long. We're not going to get into that. I have two sections of that speech that people keep repurposing online, making it bigger, who are beside themselves over what he said. So I'll play you the audio at 8, and you can judge accordingly for yourself.
Split that.
And that's how I will approach that as well. I'll tell everybody, I did not see this from Harrison Butker.
That's why I told you I'm going to give you the $200.
I did not see this from the people who were talking about how they're happy somebody finally has said this.
Don't worry about it.
I saw it from the people who were talking about how this shouldn't be said. So I'll ask the question. Plenty of other people have already asked these people.
Love you.
Then why are you repurposing it on your socials? Is it because you want the clicks? You want the rage money? You want the rage attention? If the sentiments should not be said and or heard, then maybe they should not be said or heard coming from your profile, right? That's a little bit of an interesting conversation. We'll get to that coming up at 8 o'clock. Some of what he said is for today's standards, and by what I mean by today's standards is social media standards, is a little like, oof. It's a little out there. I'm not so sure what he said is craziness. We'll get there coming up at 8 o'clock. Is it maybe time to raise the drinking age, maybe not in Ohio, but over the country? I'm going to make it about Ohio because a bar in Ohio has said on the weekends, you got to be 30 to drink here. They're tired of dealing with some stuff. This, of course, is going to have people beside themselves. You can't do this. You can't do that. Well, we were all supportive of people who didn't want to bake a cake. Remember? Like, don't bake the cake if you don't want to bake the cake. You don't want to serve a 21-year-old booze? Don't serve a 21-year-old booze. I'm all right with it. I'm perfectly okay with it. We'll get to what's going on in this bar in Ohio and where it is. We'll get there coming up at 7 o'clock. Also in the 7 o'clock hour, I do have a piece of audio where a man tells a 7-year-old girl in the audio, sorry you had to watch me beat up your dad. Get therapy and get over it. Yep. That's what the guy said online. I have some audio. We'll get to that coming up at 7 o'clock as well.
If you leave, you'll miss this on the Stansberry Show.
All right, so we got more than a few NFL quarterbacks and NFL players to be talking about today, and one of them is Aaron Rodgers. Because my man went on Tucker Carlson and said a bunch of stuff that has people beside themselves. We'll take a look at some of these comments, and we'll do that here next on the Stansberry Show. 9 a.m. this morning, we'll rock the bank, pass out that first $1,000 keyword. Also let you know what Tom Brady's upset about over that roast. Yeah, that's still a conversation. Now we have to talk about another quarterback, Aaron Rodgers. Aaron, man, dude, here's the thing about this guy, man. Sometimes when he talks, I'm like, oh, geez, Aaron, buddy, what are we doing, right? But when he's on TV playing quarterback, whether I like him or not, whether I want him to be a Browns quarterback or not, it's like, dude, get me to a TV. I want to watch Aaron. I want to watch him play quarterback, for sure I do. When he went to the Jets, I was like, oh, my God, are they going to be relevant? Oh, my God, is this going to happen? And then sure enough, he got hurt. I think it was like, what, the fourth play of that game or something like that?
Isn't that really spicy?
We're waiting to see if he comes back.
Why does it chop chili?
Anyway.
They didn't have
he went on Tucker Carlson.
the other ones. They had
this kind of broke the
sweet
internet
spicy.
when this got released.
Or spicy sweet.
I don't
or
have the
whatever.
audio for you here, but I do have a
They have
transcript.
that.
And they asked him, obviously Tucker and his crew did, about being the running mate for Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
Okay, just good.
He said, quote, that's why I was interested when Bobby came to me and said, would you think about being my running mate? And I said, are you serious? I'm an effing football player. But I love this country, and I'd love to be a part of bringing it back to what she used to be, said Robert. Quote, I thought about it. I definitely thought about it because I love Bobby, and I just wanted to hear what he had to say about it. Yeah, look, nobody's ever going to ask me if I would ever be interested. So unless you think there's to be the president next time around, that job, honestly, if you're a career politician, a lot of people don't necessarily like it or want it because it kind of means this is over. Like this is where you're getting off as an interesting, thoughtful, smart individual. I don't know if I would have called him thoughtful. I think is getting a little far.
Small.
And if you've read 1984, the base game plan of government control is you have to have an enemy, and you have to slander that enemy regardless if you know anything about them. He goes on to say Aaron Rodgers did. I think a lot of people are like, oh, Putin apologists are like whitewashing all the stuff that he's done to different people. I was just like, no, I love Joe Biden give an interview where he can speak on the history of the United States in the same way that Putin talked about the history of his country. End quote.
Where the people's gonna take the food.
Well, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing to think, to want the president to be able to do that. We don't know that Joe Biden could not do that. We are all just suspicious that he couldn't. Now, if you want to flip the coin over, and we probably should, this is why most people avoid politics on shows now, is because you kind of have to do that. Do I think the other man running for president has a full mastery of the history of this country? No, I don't. No,
so we had controlling the population.
I saw a lot of people saying to Aaron Rodgers yesterday, Biden's a leader, and leaders worry about the future. They don't worry about the past. Well, that sounds like a good line. It does. But the problem is history repeats itself. It does. And so knowing your
People are
history can help you
also
prevent
so
mistakes that have
unhealthy
been
over
made
here
in the
too,
past.
because they
I'm not saying the man is unable to do that.
genetically
I'm saying,
modify all the food.
no, you can't just talk about the future. You have to have a fundamental understanding of what happened prior. Because that's when the problem started, before you got there. You know what I mean? So I didn't necessarily love that from people who were pushing back on that. But I'm not sure either one of those men could do it. This is just an opinion. There's no fact in it. I think Barack Obama would probably have a better understanding of this country's history than both of those men combined. As a matter of fact, you could go back a handful of presidents and I would still probably not. Well, the fact that he's a pretty good public, not much else. I told you there's not a lot of fact in it. It's just my gut feeling. I don't know that I'm right. It feels like I am. But I would admit, if you sat Joe Biden down, the president Joe Biden down for 3 hours in an interview and grilled him about the history of this country, my guess is he doesn't get a lot of it right. I don't want to be mean to anybody, because again, I don't want to send anybody away from the program. I really don't. But I did ask a diehard Biden supporter just the other day. I said, my thing is not anti-him, not pro-him, not this, that both people should have to work way harder for your vote. I said, I feel like we've got people just in camps and they're just going to do what they want because that's the color they align with, and no matter what, that's what we're going to get. Don't tell me no, because you literally, that was the chant. This, no matter who, right? I said, all right, now he's moving in with you and he's going to run your house finances over the next 9 months. You still love that idea? Admit it, you don't. Right? Like, admit it. It's like you kind of don't. It's like you're kind of hand-tied there. I won't go so far as to call Vladimir Putin thoughtful. I don't think that's the word. Did he come off in that interview with Tucker a little while back as being an intelligent person? Well, yeah. You could be intelligent and still have the wrong idea about what to do. Guardians beat the Rangers yesterday, 7-4. They get to 27-16 on the year. Oh my God, what are they doing? Hire Steve Vogt. God, never even been manager. Nobody even cares now that they're not called the Yankees. They're not going to be any good. The owner sucks. Won't spend any money. Oh. Looking pretty good. Those Guardians are not so bad there. By the way, did suffer a pretty big injury to one of their starting pitchers there this year, and they still got that. So maybe Stephen Vogt wasn't necessarily the worst idea in the whole wide world there. 7-4 over the Rangers. They'll play again tonight, 8:05. Cookie on the mound for that one. Tonight, though, I feel like a lot of eyes are going to be on the Cavaliers, right? Game 5. Cavs at Celtics. They're on the road.
I didn't know
7
that how
o'clock
they look like my
and a lot of people have been making a lot about the fact that LeBron James
I think you ought to start making them and
that
selling
in
them.
Cleveland.
Yeah,
Chris Broussard, who had, from Ohio, and had covered the Cavs and LeBron pretty closely back in the day, has a pretty solid relationship with Rich Paul and Clutch Sports and all of that. And he also hosts the show in the afternoons called First Things First with Nick Wright and Kevin Wildes, I believe. That is on FS1. And Chris Broussard said, I called Rich Paul. I asked him about this. I said, you got LeBron at the Cavs game, dude. Everybody's going crazy here. What's going on? And Rich said, we called the Lakers and told them we were good. We knew this was going to be a thing. And so we gave the Lakers a heads up. Hey, we're going to go do this. Now, Chris is trying to sell everybody on LeBron's an Ohio guy. Rich is an Ohio guy. It was Mother's Day. They're in town for the holiday. And it's like, let's not pretend the holiday doesn't go where LeBron wants it. Like, let's be honest, right? Those Jets go wherever he wants them, right? And that's kind of the way that goes. So I don't know if that's going to be the reality of the situation. But he said, look, man, they were just looking to enjoy a game, where they're from. It's the playoffs. I think that's probably a little bit true. I think LeBron loves to be the center of attention, and he knew he would be walking into Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse, that he could dwarf the game that was being played just by sitting there. And I think he likes that kind of stuff. I think it would be hard not to like that kind of stuff. When you have his life, I mean, you got to find it where you can get it. I mean, you have no time to yourself ever, right? You share your entire existence with everybody else. So I think he's going to find his fun where he can get it. And that definitely sounds like a little bit like LeBron to me. Chris Broussard also mentioned this part, and I didn't know this until he said it, but Darius Garland is repped by Clutch. Like, everybody keeps talking about how where's Donovan Mitchell going? Where's Donovan Mitchell going? Is it maybe possible LeBron goes, all right, DG's having a little bit of struggles here, but how's he look like a Laker, right? Like, how does that work? Or, I know some people think LeBron could be eyeing this team up and be thinking about coming back. I just don't see it that way. I could be wrong. People thought I was nuts when I told you he was leaving Cleveland, and I said he's going to his team, and I had it down to the Rockets or the Lakers. It's kind of where I had it, and he ended up being a Laker. Now you know what I'm talking about. I get plenty of things wrong too. His kids to go to St. V, and I was like, oh my God, dude, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And here's why. Because people always say, oh, these elites and these elites and these elites. And yet when you want them to do something, you think they're going to live the way you live. And when you want them to do something, you think they're going to evaluate their decisions the way you live. You're not. You would no longer evaluate your decisions if you had LeBron's, attention and money either. You wouldn't care about St. V at that point. You don't think there's any good private schools in California? I mean, guys.
Them talking about is really,
Right, there's a little bit of that.
My pronunciation
LeBron's
is really
made it to the
funny.
mountaintops in his professional career. When people do that, they don't care about high
Depends on
school.
what you're saying.
You know who cares about high school?
Really?
The guy who maxed out in high school. Like, that's who cares about that. 4 touchdowns in 1 game, pull guy. Right, the Al Bundys of the world. When you have
About the
championship
same as
wins in
whenever
the
I see
NBA,
something you don't
care
quite
about,
understand it.
high school basketball. I mean,
What
your
do you
kids
mean?
playing, fair enough. But Sierra Canyon,
Like
there's plenty
that.
of good schools out there where they can get, what are we arguing about it for? They're literally already playing. And so, I don't see LeBron coming back. I don't. I used to be anti it. I used to be like, oh, let's see how these young guys develop.
Is that a bull?
We need to,
Not a cow?
we need to stop being so star beholden and all of
Did
this
you see
stuff.
the horns?
But like at the end of the day,
Yeah,
if he
it's
wants to come
just-
back, you open up the door.
It's just
All right.
like-
Let's see if you can get one more to catch. See, not all championships are created
Wow.
equal. Winning in that market definitely bumps it up a little bit.
Wow.
For sure it would. And so if he gets 2 there, I don't know if that puts him past Mike and people who are, resistant to the, Michael and LeBron conversation. I don't think it's going to do. I don't think there's anything LeBron could do that puts, unless he went 7 for 7, then at that point it's like, well, dude, 6 for 6 used to be good, but he went 7 for 7, but he didn't. Right? So, like, Jordan fans are never going to, the diehard Jordan fans are never going to, ever like that. I don't see LeBron coming back. It'd be great. Trust me, as a guy who does this for a living, give me the interesting story in the market all day, every day. Give me that.
We
Absolutely.
gotta stop by Walmart
I
real
just
quick
don't.
when we pick him
You know what
up.
else happened last night? WNBA
I'm
season
sure
opener. Yeah,
picking
Caitlin
up.
Clark.
Yeah,
Indiana
we pick
Fever.
him
They
up.
got
Because
host
we gotta,
on the road at the Connecticut
Get
Sun.
some
They
stuff.
lost 92 to
so he
71.
can make something for
And
something.
early on in the
Walmart.
first quarter, we're already
Okay.
starting to, tweet out and post Caitlin Clark's number.
Let's order out
She a
tonight.
bust? Is it over? Bust, by the way. Yeah, it took her the first quarter underneath her.
You gotta
She
help
did end
me
up
to
going
wash
for
the
20
dishes.
last night in that
Yes.
game. Team's leading scorer at 20 points. Her team does not look very good at all. They did not look good. And now, again, what a lot of people are going to tell you is that's why men don't like women's basketball. It's not the fact that it's women. It's the fact that it's not as good. The quality is not as good as the NBA. The WNBA isn't. I didn't watch the whole game. I wanted to get some of my eyes on it. I think this woman has an unfair job. I've said it for a couple of months. Sure enough, 1 quarter in, she's a bust. And it's like, guys, like most times, this is my point. Most times we ask an athlete to go into a franchise and turn a franchise around. And when they can't do that, we call them a bust. They're a bum. Overrated. We're not asking this woman to turn the Indiana Fever around. That's not what's being asked of her. She's being asked to legitimize an entire sport. Not a team, a sport. That's a completely different ask there. And I'm not sure anybody is going to be able to overcome what those expectations are. Gave you 20 in her first game. It was the first game. We'll see how it progresses. I said yesterday, and I think I'm right, if she continues to lose, though, by 20, her team did, by 20, and she gives you the 20, and it's not necessarily, you see her last night? I think the wind is going to come out of this WNBA pretty fast. And I think that's what some of the other WNBA players were upset about. Is, that people were telling them, you're getting the attention, you're finally getting it, and I think they understood. No, we're getting it now. But when she comes here and she doesn't ball out every single night because it's not college, like we've seen with a million male athletes too, when it's not college, the attention then is going to go all the way away. And I think some of the WNBA players were upset about that. But if anybody thought she's going to be a bust because of one game last night, I think it's a little too early for that. And like I said, the woman did give you 20. 9 a.m. this morning, Tom Brady upset about the roast and what it did to his children. We'll get to those quotes. Also, I'll rock the bank with you as well. That first $1,000 keyword, that's at 9 a.m. All right. I have noticed, and so have you, where this country draws the line of when you're an adult can be a little insane. Now, my entire life I've heard of this argument. Wait, I can enter the military, but I can't buy a beer. Which is kind of nuts, if you ask me. That's kind of crazy. Now, the problem with what I just said for me is this. I'm not sure, dude, 18 and drinking, I'm not sure is a great idea.
That landfill
Now, you start talking about other countries, and it's like, well, there's wine on the table. They have a working understanding of the liquor. It's not, don't touch it, don't touch it, don't touch it, don't touch it. Hey, did you just turn 21? Go touch it all you want. And then, you know what I mean? There's not a lot of that. And so a lot of people from other countries kind of talk about, I had an Uber driver here in Canton once who told me that. Because she asked me why I was Ubering. I got drunk last night, left my car somewhere or whatever. And she's like, you know, where I'm from, and we don't really do this, and it's not really a thing, and people handle their alcohol a lot better. And, you know, there's a few arguments. The renting of a car. In some areas, you have to be 25 to be in. That's well past 18 and over 21. Now, I don't think it's all places where you still have to do that. I know once upon a time I was in Vegas under the age of 25, and that's a long time ago now, right? And I needed to be 25 to be able to rent that car. Where we draw the line of what an adult is and isn't, well, they're arbitrary lines, right? So it doesn't always make sense, right? 18, you're an adult, but 16, technically, you can give consent, and it's like, it's just a weird thing. Now, why am I talking about it? Well, a bar in Groveport, here in Ohio. Now, that's not that far from Columbus. It's a suburb of Columbus. And it's got a population of under 6,100 people, according to Google. But a bar in Columbus is changing their policy.
Drive half of this.
This apparently will only be Friday and Saturday nights at Donneric's Pub in Groveport. And again, 20 minutes southeast of Columbus, right? So I'm guessing a lot of OSU students probably go to this bar, right? And college students not being able to handle their booze, acting inappropriately in bars is a tale as old as time. Right? We could all admit that. Yes, there it is. So essentially what they're going to do